Hi there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies, and today's video is about the dark side of the Force and the light side of the Force. So, a new Star Wars movie came out, pretty solid, and, of course, there's this epic battle between the Jedi and the Sith, the dark side and the light side. And I was talking with a colleague the other day, and she said that she felt a lot of these tactics that are used for evil can be used for good. And so we had a conversation about that. And I asked her, I said, how would you describe that difference between the dark side and the light side of the Force in marketing? And she said, well, the dark side would be this kind of fear-based marketing, very manipulative, playing on people's, shame and fear. And whereas the light side of the Force, that kind of marketing would be based on, positive feelings like hope and all this. And I was really disappointed, I guess. And I said to her, hope can be every bit as manipulative as fear. How many ads do we see? And you deserve this. Well, that's a positive emotion. So people are seduced by possibility all the time. People are seduced by I made a whole other video about this, which I'll put a link there. But there is this question, can you dismantle the master's house with the master's tools? Audre Lorde's line, and can we use the very tools that they're using against us? Well, it really depends how we're defining this. It really depends how we're conceiving of what are the master's tools? What is this dark side versus the light side? So here's my rendering for what it's worth. I would render that the dark side of the Force in marketing is fundamentally driven by the agenda to get the sale, to get people to buy. It has no interest in permission or consent in this process. Nothing matters except getting the result. It's a very linear process, taking somebody from they haven't bought to being persuaded to buy, and they buy. Yeah, and they're locked into some permanent contract. That would be the goal of this dark side of the Force. So inherently it's manipulative because the agenda, the goal, which is unspoken, that's another important thing with the dark side of the Force, it's unspoken. Hidden agenda, nobody talks about it. It's just to get the sale, just to get people to buy. And of course that's for marketing or sales, but you could translate this to a lot of other areas of life. And I think that's very dark indeed. To come into a conversation with a smuggled in agenda that nobody is consciously aware of, but everyone is unconsciously feeling it. And of course, part of the dark side is then when somebody says, I'm feeling manipulated, it gets turned back on you. Well, isn't that maybe a limiting belief you have? Maybe you feel like you don't deserve this, all this garbage. And also, I would say part of the dark side of the Force is this tying of deserving into the marketing. $10,000 is a lot for this coaching program, I know, but don't you deserve that? I mean, shit, They get a lot of people like that by playing on the deserving or playing on the belonging. A friend of mine went to a workshop and she, they just love bombed you. Man, this is what cults do too. But they just love bombed you and you're special, aren't you? You're all unique. You really get it. You're a bunch of it-getters to be here in this workshop at this time. And you're special and unique. And don't people want to belong and feel special and unique? And so that gets played on. Every good and decent thing can and will be used by the dark side of the Force in service of getting its goals, which is you buying. That's how I understand the dark side. So then what's the light side of the Force? The light side of the Force, I would say, is a immense courtesy and regard for the other. And there's an agenda, but it's not hidden. So that's one of the differences. And the agenda is explicitly to get to the truth of if it's a fit or not. And that you wouldn't even almost let somebody buy. You wouldn't let somebody buy if it wasn't a fit. You wouldn't take their money if you knew this wasn't really going to help them. So it's an immense care for the person buying. To use J. Abraham's language, I'd say in the dark side of the Force, people are considered customers. On the light side of the Force, they're considered clients. And the way he used the language, which I liked, was, a client is somebody under the care of a fiduciary. There's somebody, you are their shield. You are their protector. That's how you see yourself. You would never let them, get less or more than they need. For example, if they were going to cross the Sahara Desert, and they say, well, I got a little thimble of water, you'd say, whoa, we got to talk about this. You wouldn't let them just, sashay off into the desert without a conversation, without your guidance and advice. So, whereas a customer, you're just trying to sell to them, a client, you're trying to protect and guide and care for and support. And you see yourself in that role, in a much bigger role in their lives than maybe even they see you in. So this is also, somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need help with this issue. And you say, I'm not the best person to help you with this. I've got a colleague of mine who can help you much better. That's the light side of the Force. So the light side of the Force is committed to getting to the truth of, is it a fit? It's coming from a place of caring for people. And it's very highly based in consent. Because it knows if people get manipulated into doing something, if they get persuaded and strong-armed and cajoled and pressured into a decision that doesn't feel good, this doesn't actually work out for anyone long-term. It doesn't work out for the person who's buying, because it's not going to actually get them what they want, because it's not a fit. It doesn't work for you, because you're going to have to deal with refunds later. But also it poisons the well of the marketplace. So that's another distinction I draw. The dark side of the Force is only concerned about this moment and the sale now. Whereas the light side of the Force is concerned about the fabric of connection and trust and goodwill in the marketplace. Knowing that we are fed by it, so we have to feed it. So that, whereas in the dark side of the Force, I don't see a lot of concern about reputation, really. Or they see reputation as a very self-serving thing, whereas in the light side of the Force, reputation is seen as a manner of feeding the community. I develop a good reputation because that feeds all my colleagues in my industry. It keeps trust and goodwill in the marketplace, and that's very important. So dark side of the Force is very self-focused, whereas the light side of the Force, I think, is very communal focused. The dark side of the Force will do everything it can to get people to buy, bam, this moment. Whereas the light side of the Force, and quick, by the way, this is also another distinction you got to make. The dark side of the Force is very quick in marketing, whereas the light side tends to want to slow it down a little bit. The dark side of the Force is seduction. The light side of the Force might be courting in marketing. The light side of the Force is very generous. Is very willing to share. Well, here's what I think, and here's my point of view. My ebook, Point of View Marketing, it's all about this, about articulating how you see the product should be made, what you believe about that, what you believe about how people should get from island A to B, so how should they solve their problems? What does it take to get this result? Being very generous and sharing that, which also, of course, helps you. So there's a real short-term versus long-term game here. And those are really important distinctions to make, because in the short term, yes, some of these tactics work. I mean, Simon Sinek, in the first part of his book, Start With Why, makes the case, and I have to agree, that a lot of these marketing and manipulative unconscious persuasion tactics work. They really do. If you want a hell of a read on this, read Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. So people can be made and influenced. Watch Darren Brown's work. Oh my God, watch some of his specials getting people to do outrageous things. People can be made to do things in the short term. But in the long term, this doesn't work, actually. You can get somebody to buy a product, but you can't get them to be loyal to a company. But all the dark side of the Force cares about is that short-term, immediate hit of them buying versus a long-term client. Yeah, so one-time customer, long-time, lifetime client. Yeah, so I get why people would think, oh, it's about negative and positive emotions, but it's not about that. It's about something much bigger and much more troubling. So there you go, Star Wars nerds. You're welcome. And hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions or any thoughts or reflections about this you'd like to add, please put them in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the subscribe button where you can subscribe to get my videos. And also there's a little bell that will notify you whenever I post a new video if you'd like to know. So I think that's it. Thanks so much. Take care.